to kindly, I mean, uh, look at all the figures, look at all the key statements so that when you attempt the quizzes, you are able to answer. Okay, so first session is on key capabilities and use cases. And in this, there are three subtopics. First is about the key usage scenario as envisioned by ITU in its vision document. And the next subtopic is the key capabilities supporting various usage scenarios. These key capabilities are taken from, again, ITU document, the ITU requirement document, which were released in 2017. And then what are possible use cases sector wise we will look at. So this is about first session. So this is the document which I have shared. This is the IMT vision framework and overall objective of the future development of IMT for 2020 and beyond. So basically IMT is International Mobile Telecommunication. So basically mobile communication is termed as IMT by ITU, and 5G they are terming as IMT 2020. So 5G is a kind of commercial name given by 3GPP, but in terms of ITU they call it IMT 2020 and beyond. So this is a vision document which they released in 2015. You can see the dates here. And based on this, in 2017, they released a minimum requirement document. What should be the minimum requirement of air interface, radio interface? So in their document M2410, so these two are very, very key document which all of us should actually read. And this gives various parameters. What should be the performance parameter, technical performance parameter for 5G new radio or IMT 2020. So these documents are shared in your spare time or as per your convenience. Just go through. So this will give you an overall idea. And I have got a reminder from Hitesh that in this class, people are not from, I mean, not everyone from telecom field. So I'll take care of that, Hitesh. So no issue on that. Acha, okay, great. So I think to please help me while I go through, and wherever you feel that I need to explain more, so just let me know. So let us talk about usage scenarios. So the broad usage scenarios were actually envisioned by ITU in their 2015 vision document, which I just showed. So there were three broad usage scenario. The first one is, I hope these were taught by earlier speakers. This may be a repetition for you, but let me tell about these because this will be a kind of foundation for upcoming sessions. So the first usage scenario is EMBB. If you know the full form, just write in chat box. Otherwise, I'll speak about that. It is Enhanced Mobile Broadband. The second, the usage scenario is URLLC, Ultra Reliable Low Latency Communications. Please remember the full forms. Those will also be part of your uh, assessment today after this session. And the third usage scenario is MMTC, Massive Machine Type Communication. That is nothing but your IoT services. So these three broad usage scenarios were envisioned by ITU in their vision document released in 2015. And based on these visions, how to achieve these visions, they have come out with technical performance requirement of 5G new radio air interface part. So for each of these usage scenario, what should be the key performance parameter as envisioned by ITU in their requirement document? So and the technology which is being developed by 3GPP or by any other standard making bodies has to meet this performance requirement to actually qualify to be said as IMT 2020 or 5G. So the first is the peak data rate. So that document has defined peak data rate. What should be the peak data rate of 5G new radio? So may I ask that what is peak data rate? When we say peak data rate, what do we mean? Can somebody answer by opening your mic or writing in the chat box? Let us be interactive so that everyone is able to understand and uh, we remember something out of the session. Right. So in an ideal condition, if your base station only one device is receiving, that means all the resources are allocated to a single device. And in case you have multiple transmission using MIMO or other techniques, so using all those multiple layer of transmissions, so whatever peak data we are able to achieve, that is called peak data rate. So here we also talk about multiple layer of transmission. Suppose there are three layers of transmissions or four layers of transmission. So combining everything because there is a capability of carrier aggregation and all. So with that, whatever peak data rate uh, is being seen on the device is called peak data rate. So for 5G or IMT 2020, the peak data rate defined by ITU in their requirement document is 20 gigabit per second in downlink direction, and in uplink direction it is 10 gigabit per second. So mostly in 4G, even in 5G, the uplink performance is almost half of the downlink performance for obvious reason, because your mobile devices being a small form factor cannot perform all those complex things which a base station can do it. The next parameter is the peak spectral efficiency. So here also I would like to ask if any of you can tell me that what is spectral efficiency. When we say spectral efficiency, what is spectral efficiency? Either in chat box or somebody can open the mic and speak about it. Let us not be silent. Yeah. Okay. And Amit has in chat box written bits we can transfer per megahertz. Okay. Let me answer it. Yeah. 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 I think Nitin has answered correctly in the chat box. So it is basically with 1 hertz of your frequency, how much bit per second you can achieve. So every hertz, what is the data rate which you are able to achieve is the spectral efficiency. And when we say peak spectral efficiency, means that with whatever spectrum resources we have, how much data rate we can achieve. So for peak spectral efficiency would be in terms of bit per second per hertz. For every hertz of the frequency, how much data rate I can achieve. So this is for 5G, it is 30 bit per second per hertz. For every hertz of the frequency, you can achieve 30 bit per second in downlink direction, and uplink is normally half, it is 15 bit per second per hertz. So let us take an example. Suppose one telecom operator is allocated 100 megahertz of a frequency band. So theoretically, what peak data rate it will be able to achieve? Can somebody just answer in the chat box or open the mic? If a operator is having say 100 megahertz, so how much peak data rate theoretically it should be able to achieve? Either in chat box or you can open your mic. Yeah, so somebody has given a formula 30 into 100, yes, 3 gigahertz. So Dheeraj ji has said 3 gigahertz, yes. So just consider that the peak data rate of 20 gigabit per second, how much spectrum would be actually required? Somebody can just now calculate to achieve 20 gigabit per second, then how much spectrum do we require theoretically? Can somebody calculate and write in the chat box or open your mic and just speak that now to achieve 20 gigabit per second, how much spectrum band or channel bandwidth we call it will be required? So in 100 megahertz, you are able to achieve 3. So if you have 600, then how much? 1800. So about perhaps 6, not 18 gigahertz, but if you have 600, say 700, if you have 700, then you'll be able to achieve 21 gigabit. So it's slightly less than 700 megahertz bandwidth would be, not 18 gigahertz. It's simple, no? 100 megahertz, 3 GB. So 6 time it will be 18 GB. So 600 and something more. So around 600 megahertz or 700 megahertz, you'll be able to achieve 20 gigabit per second. Yeah, thank you. So Dheeraj said yes. Okay, fine. So now the third performance parameter is the user experience data rate. So can somebody tell me that what is user experience data rate? When we say user experience data rate, what do we mean by that? Okay. Anybody else want to answer differently? Okay. So basically when you are not able to answer, you just say yes or no in the chat box so that I feel that everyone is connected. So basically uh, the definition, all these definitions are given in the ITU document, requirement document, which I talked about. So user experience data rate there defined is that when you go to the edge of your network, right? At the edge, you should get whatever data rate you are able to get is your user experience data rate. So basically, uh, uh, in other words, what is defined there is that in 95% of the coverage area, not 100%, so you just leave 5% from the edge side, should minimum, I mean the user should get this much minimum data rate. So that doesn't mean that it is an average data rate, it is kind of a data rate which I should be able to achieve on onto the edge, right? 95% coverage area. So basically if I have to draw something, suppose I have base station here and my coverage is this much, so I just see this edge 9, I'll just leave 5% from both sides. So at this point, I should be able to achieve a data rate, which will be called user experience data rate. If I go closer to the cell, my data rate will be higher. So that is what is user experience data rate. Let me remove the ink. So the user experience data rate, which is defined by ITU, is 100 megabit per second in downlink direction, and in uplink direction 50 megabit per second. So basically, the name is somewhat misnomer. It is basically edge data rate kind of. And the next is the mobility. We are talking about enhanced mobile broadband (EMBB), right? So for every usage scenario, some or other parameter, performance parameter will be the key parameters, and there will be some overlap also. So the mobility supported because nowadays mostly keeping high speed trains in mind. So mobility supported is 500 kilometer per hour, right? So if a train is running at 500 kilometer per hour, so you can make a voice call or you can make a data call. So that is the mobility which supports. Now let us move to the next usage scenario and talk about key performance parameter for that. The next is ultra reliable low latency communications, URLLC. It is ultra reliable low latency communications. So what are the key parameters? The first is the user plane latency, right? So what is user plane latency? Some of you can answer either in chat box or opening your mic. Yes, you're right. Anybody else want to answer? Okay. So basically, if you read the document again, which I have shared, it says that uh, in the air interface on the radio part, if a packet is transmitted, so from one end to other end, it's not round trip, one end to other end. So in that means our from mobile device to the G node B, we call it the base station. So up to that, whatever time it takes to reach is the user plane latency as defined in ITU document. So there may be other definition. I'm talking about ITU definition. So it is right that when I'm speaking and when it is reaching to you is the kind of a user plane latency in terms of ITU definition. So it is defined as 1 millisecond, and this definition is given for two distinct usage scenario. For URLLC, it is given as 1 millisecond. Uh, I'm talking about ITU definition. For EMBB, they have defined separately, and that is 4 millisecond. If you read that document, it will be very clear to you. And the next is the control plane latency. So can some of you tell me, I think Abhay Sapru has answered right that from G node B and UPF, no, it's on the radio. Yeah, control plane latency. Yeah, please go ahead, sir. From you, yeah. I'm talking about ITU definition, right? So there are certain definition which will be kind of end-to-end latency, right? But this definition I'm talking about the performance requirement given by ITU. So if you read ITU document, it will be clear. So let's be clear that this user plane latency I'm talking about ITU requirement document. Okay, let us talk about control plane latency. Can somebody tell me what is then control plane latency? Nandesh ji, I have explained it again. User plane latency. Hope it is okay now for you. Right. So can somebody tell me about control plane latency? Latency for signaling packet. Anybody else want to answer differently? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think everyone is right in sense, but in a terminology of ITU, it is normally your mobile phone is in idle mode when you're not using data, right? And when we try to use some kind of data on your device, it goes to active mode, right? So it takes time from your idle mode to active mode. So when I say active mode, data transfer has started, right? So the time taken from an idle mode to an active mode, right, is your control plane latency, because control signaling is continued ever, right? Even during the user plane data traffic is going on, your control signaling will continue in some or other aspect. But control plane latency is defined as uh, the time your device going from an idle state to an active state. So between that, whatever control signaling is happening. So definition is from idle to active. I hope it is clear. And no, that is different. That is different. That is completely different, because those TTIs are can happen during the active state itself, right? So it's from idle to active. Your device, when you're not using, is in idle state, power save mode, you can say it, and it goes to active as soon as you are trying to use that. So whatever time it takes is the control plane latency. So ITU has defined that as a 20 millisecond, and they have written a statement that the standard developing organization will try to improve it further. But as far as ITU requirement is concerned, it is 20 millisecond. So there is a question by Chandraji that in idle not ideal, idle state, there will be some heartbeat to keep the connectivity. How will this be different with control plane latency? So those heartbeat is not your user plane data, right? So that will continue. So definition here is that when a data has to start, right? Suppose you are triggering a data. So from idle to active, whatever time it takes is your control plane latency, and those other signaling will continue going on. So that is different, right? I hope I'm clear to you, Chandraji. Yes. Okay, now the reliability as URLLC, lot of applications. Uh, yeah, which one? No, so those are control plane data only. So control plane latency is different than control plane data, right? So we are only talking about the definition of control plane latency. So don't confuse. There will be a lot of control signaling happening when your mobile is on, right? And uh, but from that state, so your phone is goes to two states. One is the idle state, that is power save mode, and those heartbeat kind of things will continue. But when you are going to start a data transmission, right? User data transmission. So from idle to user data transmission time, active time is your control plane latency. So let us not confuse about different signaling which is going on. And as far as reliability is concerned, so it has to be very, very ultra reliable. And mobility interruption, they have said 0 millisecond. There has to be no mobility interruption for URLLC kind of services, because these services can be autonomous car, can be a remote surgery being done by a doctor. So all these aspects are very, very important. Now let's go to the third usage scenario, that is massive machine type communication. So let us talk about what is massive machine type communication. So rather performance parameters. So the first performance parameter is connection density. So let me ask if any of you want to tell me what is connection density. Yes, you are very right. So basically the how many users can get connected in a 1 square kilometer of area. So that is your connection density maximum. Uh, so these requirement, they call it minimum requirement. So right, so they have defined it as 10 lakh devices per square kilometer, because these are all the sensor kind of devices, and going forward every object, every machine, every device in home, agriculture, everywhere, those sensors would be installed and they will operate on 5G. So there will be a massive number of connections. That's why name massive machine type communication. So it will support 10 lakh devices in a per square kilometer. So that is connection density. Second is the energy efficiency. So how much energy efficient your network is very, very important. Can somebody tell me why energy efficiency is more important in case of massive mobile type communication compared to other usage scenario? Yeah, yeah, you are right in terms of higher connection density. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody was speaking, but your voice is gone. Can you? Very, very, I mean, right answer. So basically, what you said is right, that these devices, these sensor devices, would be installed where will be installed in a very, very remote area. Let us consider that in agriculture field you have deployed those devices. This sensor would also be installed in various hilly area for uh, like disaster sensor and all, right? They'll sensor if any disaster is going to happen. So and these will also be there in industry and all those machineries and all. So basically these devices will be battery powered, and there'll be very less opportunity that you are able to charge those batteries because they are installed in a very remote area. So the life of those sensors, battery life of those sensors has to be very high, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years kind of. So that is only possible when the consumption of the energy for the radio it is communicating with the network has to be very efficient, very less number of signaling, less data requirement, right? So that energy efficiency, I mean, it becomes important for MMTC, because otherwise what will happen, your battery will go away and your IoT sensors will be dead. So energy efficiency towards devices is important. Energy efficiency towards the infrastructure is also important, right? Because unless your infrastructure is kind of efficient, so a lot of innovation has been done in 5G to support these energy efficiency. Suppose uh, in 4G there were a lot of always on transmission, right? Those has been actually removed, and some other kind of signaling has been added in place of that to make it energy efficiency. So we call it lean and thin kind of architecture of 5G new radio or Z node B in that sense. So basically, as far as infrastructure is concerned, so they have given two parameters, that efficient data transmission in a loaded case and very low energy consumption when there is no data. That is the requirement, and how they will be able to achieve, they have built in so many innovations from previous generation into the 5G to support these aspects, and this will translate into, so in fact the 5G is also being said as green technology because of its energy efficiency. We will compare uh, uh, these parameters from 4G and 5G comparison we will do in the coming slides. Okay, so let us compare these key capabilities of 5G, that is IMT 2020, with 4G, that is IMT advanced, right? So this particular picture is taken from again the vision document of ITU 2083. I think the first document which I shown you. So let us look at, so in that vision document, basically they had given these 8 parameters and they have compared with 4G. So I think every one of you might have seen this particular picture, right, and would be aware. So I'll quickly run through it, but please just look at it. So just see this one. IMT Advanced is a name given to 4G. So basically, in terms of ITU, 4G is known as IMT Advanced. So basically, which technology is an approved technology of IMT Advanced? Can some of you tell me? Which radio technology is kind of approved by ITU as IMT Advanced? That is 4G. Please, yeah. You said LTE, okay. Anybody else want to answer something else? Yes. So basically the LTE advanced, which release, can somebody tell me which 3GPP release it is, LTE advanced? It is release 10. So LTE advanced came in release 10 and LTE started in release 8. So basically all of us get confused that even release 8 is people are calling it as 4G, but whereas in terms of ITU, the LTE advanced is nothing but they have used carrier aggregation. So basically their channel bandwidth is 20 megahertz of LTE and they have used 5 such carriers, making it 100 megahertz, and they were able to achieve a peak speed of 1 Gbps, right? because requirement of peak data rate was 1 Gbps. So just see the peak data rate. First parameter is the peak data rate. So IMT advanced or 4G, it was 1 Gbps. In 5G, we talked about this has increased 20 times. That becomes 20 Gbps. We talked about user experience data rate. In 4G, it was, when I say 4G, please read that as a LTE advanced, not the plain LTE. It was 10 megabit per second. In 5G, it has uh, gone 10 times better, that is 100 megabit per second. Please remember these will be part of your assessment also. Okay, now spectral efficiency, we said, so from 1x it has gone to 3x. We know that it is 30 bit per second per hertz in 5G, so it was 10 bit per second per hertz in 4G. Mobility supported was 350 in 4G, it is 500 kilometer per hour in 5G. Latency, it was 10 millisecond and now it is 1 millisecond. And the connection density, it was 1 lakh and now it is 10 lakh. So 10 times increase. Just look at this energy efficiency. So it was, if it was 1x, it is 100x. It is very, very significant improvement in terms of energy efficiency. So you can now imagine that how much changes they would have done in overall architecture and overall various aspect of 5G. And the area traffic capacity, because connection density and all, uh, so basically you can consider that if there is a stadium and everyone is having mobile recording video, so how much area traffic density will be required? It is in megabit per second per square meter. So it was zero point 0.1 and now it is 10. Just see how much times it has increased from zero point 0.1 to 10, which is almost 100, not almost 100 times increase has happened. So these are the 8 performance parameter. Somebody said release 18. Release 18 has not yet released. Up to release 16 releases happen, and release 15 onwards is your 5G, right? Vindhya ji. Okay. Okay, this is also a picture taken from the ITU vision document, and they have uh, this document tells you that the three usage scenario which we talked about: enhanced mobile broadband, that is EMBB, URLLC here, and massive machine type communications. So the which of these 8 key parameter is of importance, of high importance, medium importance, or low importance? So on the outer side, you see those parameters: peak data rate, user experience data rate, spectrum efficiency, mobility, latency, connection density, network energy efficiency, and area traffic density. These 8 parameters. So I would explain one parameter, one usage scenario, an important parameter for it, and rest I'll be asking from you so that you'll be able to understand better. So let me explain the URLLC, this one. So basically URLLC is the yellow color one. Just see out of these diagram, these are in yellow color from here to here. I think you're able to see. So just see that which parameter is very, very important. So if you see latency, the yellow part is the highest one here. The outer circle is the highest one. So latency importance is very, very high. Sorry, very, very high for URLLC. Mobility is also very high. My pointer is giving some trouble. Okay, this one. Mobility is very, very important for URLLC. And as far as peak data rate is concerned, peak data rate is coming here. So it is of low importance. User experience data rate is also low importance. Spectral efficiency is also low importance for it, right? And for connection density, it is medium. Just see here, requirement is given as a medium. Here it is coming, connection density. And network efficiency is also low for this. and area traffic capacity is also a low requirement. So what is the key requirement? Latency and mobility for URLLC. Latency is important. Mobility is for that V2X or autonomous car, etc. So now other things, other two usage scenario I'll be asking from you. So for massive machine type communication, which is here drawn in blue color, can somebody tell me that which are the high kind of importance parameter, which are the high importance parameter for it? Yes, very nice. And for what are the parameter which are of medium importance for massive machine type communication? Yes, yes, you're right. Just see here energy efficiency. Latency is medium. No, it's yes. I mean, it is between medium and low. Right. Correct. And now let us area traffic capacity is low. Just see, just see. If you draw this, the blue is touching here, so it is low, right? So massive machine communication types mainly connection density and energy efficiency is the two key parameters. Rest are of low importance. Now let us talk about most important service. All of us would be mainly using EMBB in the first instance. Whenever rollout takes place, this is the service which becomes available immediately. Rest all our applications, so it may take certain time to come. So just see what are the high importance parameter, and it is the green color. Can somebody tell me what are the high importance parameters? Yes, yes, yes. So just see, yes. So EMBB, and even if you look at the latency part, latency is also medium, right? You just green color is actually extending there, right? Latency is also is coming here, so it's also of importance. So for EMBB, almost all even connection density is medium. Just see, connection density is also medium, right here. So almost all parameters are very, very important for enhanced mobile broadband because that is the key service which will be utilized, right? I hope these two diagrams are clear to everyone. If any one of you are having any doubt, you can just uh, uh, either write in chat box or open your mic. So thank you for answering all these parameters. I'm happy that people are able to understand. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So depending upon the application, so I'll just tell you one example. Suppose you have an autonomous car, right? So autonomous car, self-driving car, right? So self-driving car would be fitted with lot of sensors, lot of sensors. Every part of it would be fitted with a lot of sensors. It will also communicate with lot of other objects like red light, the poles, and other infrastructure created. It has to communicate. That's why we call it V2X, vehicle to everything. It will connect to other vehicles which are running, and also it will be taking lot of videos, right? uh, from front side, back side, side and all, and that would be going towards a server which is managing that, and they may run some AI ML applications to use those various data. So that means if I'm capturing a video and also multiple video and transmitting, that means my data rate should also be high, right? So so you can see data rate requirement is also important in case of a say autonomous car. So although it is a kind of a MMTC application, but it is also using the ultra reliable kind of scenario and also the EMBB. So all those three parameters, it will be autonomous car V2X kind of service will be using all, right? So depending upon a specific service, Which of these three broad scenarios parameters would be of importance is the question. And suppose there is a vehicle and you have just fitted an IoT sensor just to track location, right? So in that case, EMBB is not a requirement. Only a coverage, some kind of coverage is the requirement, and energy efficiency becomes the second requirement, and maybe connection density, because if all vehicles are fitted with or all objects are fitted with, connection density becomes the requirement. So depending upon a particular use case, which parameter becomes very important is the question. Thanks a lot. Okay, so now basically we talked about three usage scenario: EMBB, URLLC, and MMTC. So this is again taken from the vision document, right? So what are the different services or use cases they had envisaged in year 2015? We will just have a look at it, and there could be n number of things. So but this is what they envisioned. So they envisioned gigabyte in a second, so that you can download a movie in a fraction of second, 3D video or ultra high definition screens, work and play in the cloud, augmented reality, industry automation, and just see. So the three corners are three usage scenarios. So some services, if you are finding in between, that means it will take some of the aspect of EMBB, some of the aspect of URLLC. This positioning, you can see self-driving car. Here the key parameter is reliability and latency, but it will also require other things. A smart city where sensor kind of things, voice call, smart building. So all these applications, right, so will fit into some or other place of this triangle, requiring the parameters related to EMBB. So this is not three kind of usage, three distinct usage scenario. These are broad usage scenario within which lot of services can be deployed. Okay, now in this session, I have some use cases for each of these usage scenario. These are just picture taken from uh, various resources. So this picture is was there in one of Qualcomm white paper. So they have envisioned that 3D or ultra high definition video telepresence would be one of the service of EMBB, ultra high definition video streaming. So there is a key point here that today when some live telecast is done by the broadcaster, they go with some satellite terminal, big antenna vehicle and all, with 5G coming. So they will their form factor of the devices will be very small, because now they don't require that big antenna and all. So a small device can do whatever they are able to do today. Then the stadium I talked about, demanding condition. A lot of people are watching, sharing video, audio, images, and connection density also is high. And virtual reality, these are the services. So the parameters for these are extreme throughput, very low latency of 1 millisecond, uniform experience because you have to give coverage everywhere, much more capacity, and they also talk about lower cost per bit. We talk It's a very right question. So basically, the earlier we talked about the capabilities which uh, ITU has given a requirement, and those are kind of a minimum requirement. And these I said that I have taken from Qualcomm white paper. So they are talking about 1 millisecond even for EMBB. So basically, those were minimum requirement which every to qualify for a 5G, that is a requirement. But when you look at other papers by other innovators and all, they are talking about achieving one. So even today, I think I have not seen any 5G network which have achieved 1 millisecond so far, right? I mean, so there are, as I said, there are multiple releases and things improve. So this is the vision kind of they are talking about. Is that clear to you? Yeah. Okay, so this is again AR/VR applications which we talked about. These are some images just to visualize. And this is MMTC kind of massive machine type communication. So I mean, many a times you will massive IoT also some innovators would be calling. So smart cities, smart home devices, wearable devices, or agricultural sensors are some examples. And for this, as I said, that the massive number of sensors would be there. So connection density becomes important. Multi-year battery life, that is power efficiency, becomes important. And those sensors are very small, has to be very low complex, low cost. The one important parameter here is the deep coverage, right? Very very important parameter for IoT sensors, because the sensors would be even in your basement, even in a very very remote area. So the coverage should be available. They should get some 5G radio signal, otherwise they will not work. So deep coverage is the requirement for the MMTC kind of usage scenario. We will talk about, when we'll talk about spectrum, we'll talk about that how deep coverage would be possible. And the third one is the URLLC. So I talked about autonomous vehicle. Robotics is one example which industries would be doing, and industrial automation with a lot of sensors, and aviation, drone are the other use cases. So here important parameter is the, I mean, reliability, low loss data, latency, and high availability. These are the requirement for, I mean, the key requirement. So other requirement would also be there, but these are the key requirement. So there is one question coming: how does the numerology of time slot and OFDM subcarrier support 500 kilometer per hour? I'll be answering Giri Saab that question when I run through the second session on 5G new radio spectrum related aspect. So I'll try to cover that. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a picture. So just to visualize that example of a self-driving car. Now there would be certain applications in different sectors. So for say public safety is one of the key area which is important. So basically uh, they talk about faster deployment of emergency services to the accident, and those connected sensors we talked about, if they are uh, alarming us or giving warning in advance, we can take certain action. And natural disasters, so whatever loss of life or loss of property happens, that can be minimized to some extent with and 5G drone. Today also a lot of drones are services are there, but with 5G connectivity it can. So today you require a kind of a line of sight to operate a drone, and drone to work autonomously, it has to be I mean 5G connected, so that everywhere it gets signals. And so in emergency situation, 5G drone would be very very important to take pictures, video, and then respond to such natural disasters. So I talked about remote consulting, remote diagnosing of the patient elsewhere in case of accident or any disaster, that becomes important. And connect, if you have a connected vehicle, uh, the road collision would be avoided because of that. So here let me uh, uh, have one small discussion about. We talked about latency of 1 millisecond. So can I ask that suppose somebody throws something towards you, so your eyes blink. So it takes some time that our eyes blinks or it closes. What is that time? Can somebody tell me that what is that particular time we require to blink our eyes in case something is coming towards our eyes? 10 milliseconds somebody says, Dheeraj. Anybody else? 1 microsecond somebody is saying. Nanosecond, 1/10. You can Google it. It is 250 millisecond, right? So just imagine that our eye requires 250 millisecond to respond to something which is happening in front of our eye, right? Whereas the 5G when it comes, the latency is 1 millisecond. So within 1 millisecond, something will get processed, right? Some data will, I mean, uh, come within 1 millisecond, and that will be processed. So that's why that's why we are saying that the road collision in case of a V2X or autonomous car would be avoided, better avoided compared to the human driving, because our reflex is 250 milliseconds. So even to act or react, I require 250 milliseconds, where here latency is 1 millisecond. So I can receive the data from various sensors, cameras, etc., process it and take action. So if I want to take break, and or if I want to divert traffic or do anything else, so that's why it will become very very, I mean, so today we, when we talk about self-driving car, we think there may be collision and all, but with the technology and with the latency which we'll be able to achieve, it will be better than a human driver or human person driving. And there could be many more applications. So industry also, there will be a lot of applications. So today also they have a lot of sensors. They may be wired, or they may be using wireless sensors, using many other technologies. But with 5G, it will improve. So we are talking about now digital replicas, that all those the key component of the industry, there will be a digital replica uh, which you can see in your office or some other place, remote place, and it will also warn you if something is going to be faulty. It will warn you in advance. It will show you the temperature. So basically, your uh, component will be fitted with lot of sensors for various parameters like temperature, pressure, or there could be n number of sensors for different parameters, and there will be a digital replica created, and all those parameters will be able to visualize if something is getting heated. You see the color change and all, and you can take some preventive action, right? So that is concept of digital replica, which may come with a kind of network we'll get in 5G. And then all those sensors know, you can fully trace all spare part in your warehouse. Today also people are doing using different technology. It will become better with 5G. And then I talked about use of robots, URLLC use cases, robotics. So powerful robot, you can have remote access, and the vehicles which are running in the industry, autonomous vehicle you can control from a remote place. So these are some use cases of 5G uh, for the industry. And then in agriculture field also, there will be a lot of applications for livestock tracking, irrigation management, machinery tracking, vehicle monitoring, access control. You can have so many things, equipment monitoring, soil and crop monitoring, agricultural drones and all. These are some applications will be built around agriculture on these topics in coming days, and those will be kind of commercialized. And finally, 5G for experience, right? So this is a service. I hope that it will become very popular in our country with the virtual reality, augmented reality, XR become a service which will be used. Then there's some kind of sensory experience can also be brought in, like touch through devices and all. When you touch something here, and action immediately it reaches, and you can see the action happening. So those things will also start coming. And the teaching, the education will also be using this AR VR kind of for uh, I mean various kind of teaching. Suppose even the labs, various complex lab may be operating at one institute, but will be utilized by a student of other institute where that may not be there. So it becomes very very important once these services are available and a lot of applications start coming. And the virtual meetings. So today, all our meetings, which is happening on Zoom, is kind of a 2D meeting. It can become a 3D meeting, and immersive in the sense that it will feel that all of us are sitting together and having this discussion. Okay. So my first session is over, and I have created a small quiz for all of you. And I request Talent is to share that. and we'll take 10 minutes only. So I took around 1 hour for this session. So let us take 10 minutes for this particular quiz. You can either uh, read this QR code or take this particular link I have given. And I'll also request Talent Days team if you can share with the participants through other means which you have, which you may have. So I'm giving 10 minutes, 10 minutes time. So maybe at I'll be starting second session at 11:10. Is that okay? Yeah. Just a very very quick so that uh, uh, I'm also aware that everyone has understood better. Just 10 minutes. Is it okay, Bimla ji? Yeah. You can just share it and give. Let us give. Yeah.